We're starting?
Yeah,
we're starting.
we're going.
All right. Hello, everyone.
I got mint in my mouth.
Okay. Hello.
Hey.
This video should be...
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with something funny. Okay, Gary and I are a little tipsy. We just had each a half a bottle. We had a bottle of wine. I had half. Garrett had the other half. And we had a great steak. He and our mom cooked. It was fantastic.
Well, I cooked it. Mom helped.
Yes, Mom helped, and he cooked it, and it was great. So we're a little tipsy, so it's going to be kind of funny, but nevertheless, we can perfectly recount what we're about to talk about right now, which is...
2020. A little bit of 2019. 2020. And it's going to be entertaining because we're a little tipsy, like I said. We're going to talk about the 2020 and our experience of creating our show over the course of 2020. It wasn't a pleasant experience.
No.
So, here we go. Bro, continue what I cut you off of last time.
Okay. So this is the lead-in. Before we got to actually writing our show, we wanted to plan it.
Jump to December 25th, 2025.
Yeah. Well, were we planning a little bit during that time? Well, okay,
I don't remember. But we were planning sometime December 2019.
Yes, definitely.
Let's just make that the span.
Yeah, so we're going to be telling this a little bit somewhat... We're going to try to tell this as linear as possible, but it's going to be some things that are going to be out of order.
Yeah.
But anyways, definitely December 2019, around that time, no earlier. Gary and I really sat down, and we wanted to plan out our universe, our characters, key story beats, key character developments. We were talking.
Well, I don't know about story beats. Like, I don't think we knew we were going with the story at all.
Well, the universe and the characters, then.
I think we knew what we wanted the driving force of plots to be, like the villains. Like we wanted, the antagonists. We knew what we wanted them to be in order to drive the story
in a certain direction. A certain way we wanted it to go down.
I did have to do, here's some very interesting trivia.
Yeah.
A lot of the characters, main antagonist-wise, including storylines, were taken from video game ideas that Brandon had.
Yes.
A lot of them. Let me see, can nail it on the head. That's 1, that's 2, 3. All of them. I feel every video game Brandon had in mind that he wanted to make, I suggested that we put it into this show.
Yeah, and specifically what Garrett meant was not literally the ideas I had in mind.
No, of course not.
But the most important parts. The parts that because I'm a little fun thing, I'll get back to this. I wanted to make video games, story video games and stuff like that. But it was never going to happen. And I'm okay with that because Garrett suggested that I put the most important parts that I loved about my video games into our story. And let me tell you this. We did. And I'm so happy we did.
Yeah. The parts that Brandon absolutely could not part with that
I loved. I adored.
The proudest he was creating of his video games, those subjects, whether it be character, storyline, or antagonist, I wanted in this show because I said they're never going to see the light of day. Let's put them here.
Yep, and Garrett was absolutely right. That was the better choice.
Yep, and they were able to fit.
Perfectly.
Excuse me. Because the show was so underdeveloped. So it wasn't like we were going to inject Brandon's video game idea from a crime video game into a comedy that we always knew we wanted to make into this web series. It's not a comedy. But it is certainly a show that could encompass every idea that Brandon had in mind for his games. And I saw it, and I asked him if he wanted to do that. I thought it'd be a great idea because his ideas... I don't know how it is for other writers. Probably there are for some, but for us, there are certain feelings that when you think of an idea and you've developed it a little bit, that it just feels kind of like a crime. And I don't mean the genre. Feels like it's wrong to not give it a chance to breathe, give it a chance to live, and just cut it off for the sake of, life didn't work out that way. Somebody cut out this great thing that I just know I never gave it the chance because I gave in to what my externals told me.
Yeah, let me tell you right now, that's a load of horse crap. That's why Garrett brought my games into our show, because of that exact reason. I don't believe in that crap. You want to bring something here, is that important to you, you find a way to make it.
And the specific story elements from Brandon's games, I think you had like 4 of them, or 5. Let's count them.
Well, I can count key ones. 1, 2... I had trilogies in mind, but I'll count those. I had trilogies in mind, but I'll count those as one.
There was one series.
But I'll count that as one. So it's 1, 2... let me see here. Hold on a second. Yeah, I think you're right. Like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 4. That was about it. About 4 that had really came with ideas that were sound for me.
Yeah.
That had really established for myself that I loved.
And resonated with him.
Yes.
As a storyteller. More than a game creator. A storyteller.
Yes.
So, all those ideas... Because the stories were relatively underdeveloped, honestly.
Yes, Garrett's right.
They were pretty underdeveloped. So, we were able to take those and put them into our show.
And integrate them perfectly.
Integrate them into our web series. So, they are there. We will confirm which is which way in the future.
Yeah, way.
But you know right now, they are there. And that was also part of the discussion of December of 2019.
Yes.
Now we're 2019. 2019!
Yeah,
I'm drunk!
Yep.
Tipsy. I'm not drunk.
Yeah, so... Now
when I'm drunk, I'm crazier.
So we're going to hop back to now. I think we're going to hop back on the subject. I'm sorry. I forget what we're going to hop back on, so I'm just going to keep going with this. Where, yes, that was a huge discussion of ours. We were going to integrate it, and we did. And then we were talking so much.
Then we figured out how to plot develop everything. And then you would think of ideas on how to incorporate what you had originally thought for your manga series, which we turned into a web show if you watched the previous one.
Yeah, if you watched the previous.
This started as a manga idea.
A comic book
idea. We called it a manga, A manga for like American manga.
Yes.
We wanted to do a kind of cool blend like that.
Yes.
But that was the placeholder name at the time. We liked it, a manga. It sounded nice and respectful. American manga. And so then Brandon... but he already had ideas for this show before we integrated the video game plot lines and characters, and then we had to make that though the main story. See, the video games were just going to be the characters and ideas, but they were not going to override the show Brandon had in mind as it was when it was intended to be a manga.
Yes.
So that was the major discussion we had during the course of December 2019. And the discussion, needless to say, didn't last long enough because of me.
Yeah, but that's all. But
I made a mistake.
No,
but I'm going to get into that.
Well, okay. No, you initiated the mistake. I went along with it. So we both could have done better. What the fuck ever. But yeah, so that was
5 years ago. Fuck it.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, in the good sense, I've gotten over it. We've gotten over it. We've processed it. We've dealt with it. It's great now. But yeah, so in 2019, that's what we were just doing. Sitting down and planning integrating my video game ideas, mapping out our universe, our characters, how these key characters will trigger key events and things like that. We talked and talked and talked. All the way till a little bit early 2019, all the way till a little bit early 2020, I believe.
Yeah, sometime in the early January.
Yes.
And Brandon talked about, there's a particular character Brandon had troubles with.
Yeah.
It was a baddie, one of our antagonists. Brandon was having a very difficult time describing to me how to make this typical antagonist role work in a way where it didn't look typical. So an example would be, let's go with the villain who wants to conquer the world.
Yeah, classic storyline.
As common as it gets, as old as it gets, and it's really not that interesting as it's been used so many times. So how do we... But Brandon knew he wanted the character to... It's not the character. I'm going to tell you that right now.
No, this is an example character.
Yeah, this is an example character. Brandon knew he wanted this baddie to be a conquer the world kind of villain. But as creators, we could not make it the same way. So how could we make it in a way that felt good to fit our story and fresh at the same time? Well, we found a way.
Yeah.
When I came to a very, that lasted about an entire day, and all I said was something as simple as, well, I can't put it in a context with a conquering villain because I don't know actually how to make that conquer the world villain any better. I could if I wanted to sit down.
Well, but the idea is something as, this isn't the example, but something as simple as Garrett suggested. Garrett suggested a half joke.
I was half joking when I said
it was a half joke. But as soon as you said that, then I was like, I may be tipsy, but this is almost to verbatim what I was like. I was sitting on the couch, like across from the one we're sitting on, and Garrett suggested this half joke, and I was literally like, wait, hold on, that's it, Garrett, that's it. That's what I was like.
Yeah.
And then it worked. It aligned. It tied every string. It matched. All the pieces fell into place. When Garrett suggested a half joke, it was great.
That's fun when it happens in writing, right, guys?
So
I'm talking to my fellow writers out there.
Yeah, fellow writers. You all
know what it's like.
You know what we're talking about.
You know what we're talking about.
So, but yeah, after that was a big point because we came with all sorts of characters, all sorts of story flow, key events. But Garrett's right. That certain antagonist, I came with that certain baddie. We had to have. Garrett agreed. We love that baddie. until that certain piece fit in, the story, the universe could not work.
And and this was all actually good.
Yeah.
This was well handled, well thought out. It was a little stressful because we were jumping back into
something we were really scared about to jump back into.
Yeah, back into the medium. Yeah, we were afraid to continue.
Yeah.
But it was excellent, and we planned it all. And I even did another half joke that ended up really serving as a pivotal point for our story. Enter 2020.
Oh.
Enter 2020. The main topic of the video is 2020.
Yes. Now we're in 2020.
God, this video is gonna be like a fucking hour long. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that we're tipsy.
Oh no, I know that, but it's a year. We look at it here. We're talking about a whole fucking year. That should be kind of long.
Yeah. No, I agree. So enter 2020. We're still planning, and I'm getting impatient because at the time.
Well, yeah.
Sometime during 2019, I think this happened.
It had to be during 2019, but late 2019. It had to have been.
I think it was in like September, maybe October.
But that's pretty late. It's the final third.
It's feeling like October, if body memory serves correctly. I'm gonna double down and say it's October. Sometime in October, I was going through something really, really, really stressful, very personal to me, and I didn't tell Brandon this because I knew personally for myself, I'd be compromising the work if I just wanted to write as a means to forget about the suffering I was going through. Because to me, you're not only disrespecting the writing, you're disrespecting yourself because you have to deal with what's going on with yourself. To be able to do something right, you have to take care of what's wrong. And I didn't. I told Brandon, I want to write right now. I made up some BS reason that we have enough to run with. And this was before we came up with our system of planning, segments, writing. All we came up with was, imagine the idea was, okay, I want to have this many characters. They got this kind of personality. Now let's write a first episode.
And we have this kind of universe. Let's go.
Basically, you're just running with nothing because you're expecting or hoping the process would give you the inspiration to keep going, which is not a healthy way to write at all. But I wasn't interested in being healthy. I was interested in forgetting what I was going through.
Yeah.
And I did for a time, but you don't really ever forget. No matter what you do. You never really forget. I always knew why I was doing it. I just never told Brandon. And Brandon knew there was a reason why I was more stressed than usual, but he didn't push. And we get through that first episode. It took fucking forever to write.
Man. It was rough. It was really rough.
It took longer than it had to. And it was because of the shit I was going through. Had I just taken care of my shit first before writing that first episode, everything would have been better. Because one of the things Brandon hates more than I do.
Yeah, me, definitely me.
But I've grown to understandably despise as much is going back to do an incredible amount of rewrites on something. Because Brandon and I are both people who know what we want. So when we write something that requires a lot of rewrites, that means we messed up.
Yeah, it's
just us as writers. That's our way. We know what we want. So when we make something in its screenplay format, it should be at least 95% of what we want. And the rewrites should only consist of touch-ups, spell corrections,
and syncing up lore.
Yeah, and character nuance.
Yeah, but no, I want to reinforce that. No, Garrett and I, that's a rule I set down for myself, and Garrett adopted perfectly. We know what we want. We don't need 5 rewrites. We don't even need 3. We know exactly what we want and still be so fluid and it can still be so natural about it.
It's never been how we've never written anything that required that many rewrites because we just know.
Yep.
And we just know what we love. And so it comes naturally. And we do it well. And then
I want to say, if you're done in the subject, I got some ahead.
Okay, hold that thought.
Oh, I will.
Bottom line, that first episode required some reworking.
Yeah.
That would not have occurred had I dealt with my shit. But I did not. No. So that first episode, thankfully, it was restricted to that one.
Yeah, actually, it really was just that one.
And thankfully, we're damn good enough at what we do that it didn't corrupt what came after it.
No.
Because it was about 80%, 70% complete, but that's a low number.
I'd say for me,
80.
I'd say 80.
80.
I agree. It was 80. It was 80.
80. But modifying that last 10% is a fucking bitch.
It was
anyway,
bad.
what were we going to say?
No, but I have 2 things. One, which we wrote called, thankfully we wrote so well that it didn't require much touching up, but that extra effort is a real pain in the ass. And this.
Effort's not a pain in the ass. It's doing stuff that we know we didn't have to do is a pain in the ass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this one. In this video right now, we talked about episode 1. But in 2020, we're going to be deliberately vague how many episodes we wrote in 2020 because we don't want you to know. We don't want you to start counting, okay, so they wrote this much episodes, so that means they probably wrote this much episodes. We're going to be deliberately vague, so just as a heads up.
Yeah. So all we're going to say is there was...
this point in time, this happened.
Well, no, we don't have to say it like that. We can say across 2020,
yes,
there was X amount of episodes that we had written.
Yes.
And that's all you're going to know.
Yeah, to keep you surprised, because it's fun. Now, I'll say, because
then you'll be able to tell. You'll be able to do math. If they had written this many episodes in 2020 and then this much in 2021, then I know the average amount of episodes they're going to write. Then by the time they finish this channel, I'm going to know how many episodes the entire show has. So that's why it has to remain an unknown.
Yeah, because for
the surprise factor.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, for me personally, the really fun factor. It's really fun not knowing when it's going to...
Okay, what was the second thing?
No, but the second thing, actually, I didn't... Did I have a second thing? No, I did say I had a second thing. But actually, again, probably because I'm tipsy, or just I don't really give a shit, I forgot about it. So, since you talk about your kind of experiences, because we talked about episode 1, I want to talk about kind of my little experience with episode 1.
Yeah, what were you going through? When I was bullshitting my way through that first episode, I still managed to come out with a good episode. Excellent episode.
Actually, no, it was actually fantastic. It's more than excellent. It's exactly what we wanted for our first episode. So that's like better than perfect.
Yeah.
No, for me,
it just lacked the precision that we're used to.
Yeah, the clarity, as it were.
Yeah.
Me, with episode 1, I was so confused. I was so tense and confused because we were writing scenes that I knew Garrett could handle. I knew we could handle, even solo. So I was tense, angry, and confused, whereas to why is this so difficult? And like Garrett said, I didn't inquire because I trust Garrett right here. And yes, it would have been better if Garrett did that. You know, he dealt with his issues, but what the fuck ever. We're past it. But so yeah. That was like our episode 1 experience. It was mad. It was mad. It was kind of madness. It was crazy. And I'm gonna say it right now as a thing for you to know. It was actually personally one of my worst experiences ever writing, unfortunately. But whatever. But whatever. What are you gonna do? It's done. It's done. The important thing is to never repeat it. That's all you can say. And for me, to learn from it. And I'd say, thankfully, no, we have never repeated that bad experience ever on Garrett's side or mine. We have never repeated. So we did great. We did great. That we learned from it.
I did. Anytime something shitty came up in my life later on, I decided to deal with it before ever writing.
No, but
I didn't use writing as a crutch to forget. I disrespected I hate saying the process. I disrespected my love for writing, just so that way I didn't have to deal with myself.
But I'd say, Garrett. But then there comes the flip side. I knew there was something up. I could have done it. So that's my responsibility. I've learned to speak up more when I see there's something a little off here. That's my responsibility.
Yeah, he has spoken up more.
Yeah, I have gotten better at that. Thankfully, this helped us both greatly. Mm-hmm. So let me see here. That was our episode 1 experience. Now, not the whole of it, because obviously there were good parts. When Garrett and I wrote scenes, we were like, yes. When we wrote this character, we're like, ooh, that's a good surprising turn. There were always good parts in writing. There were. We're just talking about a rather alien part in it, because that never happened to us ever with writing, ever.
Nope.
Ever.
Nope.
So yeah, just wanted to round that up really quickly, that there was lots of nice stuff, but it was really rough on us getting back into the writing groove.
Yeah, no, overall it was a good experience in the sense that we still came out with an excellent first episode.
Yeah.
Turned exactly how we wanted, with the exception of, like I said, the lack of clarity. And
it's like the craft turned out the way we wanted it, but our experience could have been better.
Yeah, the experience was abysmal.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
If you can write a script the same as you would have written it...
just take your time. That's what I'm doing.
The episode we ended up with would have turned out the same way had I had looked at myself. And then it would turn out the same way, but without the yelling. There was a lot of yelling.
Yeah.
Without the yelling, without the self-doubt, without the fabrications, without the contemplations, without the insecurities of what you're writing. It would all that would have been gone, because all that shit was already there because of a pre-existing problem.
Oh, excuse me.
So, if you can have a good time writing, and it turns out the same, go for that every single time. figure out what's going to fuck with it first. And so I did. Now, some could look at that as, well, maybe it's a good thing that happened, Garrett, because now you know not to do it again. No! No!
I agree. I totally agree.
It's better that had never happened.
I agree.
Because I knew I could have done something about it when it happened. I made a mistake. Brandon made the mistake of going along with it.
Yeah.
We made a mistake. That's it. It's just that simple. But thankfully we got through it. And honestly, what saw us through is that we love each other.
Yeah.
And we love writing. Love will get you through the hardest times.
It's actually true.
But it doesn't mean you should take it for granted or just think, oh, since I can make it through being a dickhead or being annoyed or being frustrated because of how much I love my brother, how much I love writing, I should do this every time.
No, that's just irresponsible.
Yeah. So there's the experience for the first episode. And
for the rest, yeah, that was like anyways.
And the funny thing is that I'm gonna mention that that fucking skiff, we never could get them on the goddamn skiff. I'm just telling you that right now. It's okay to spoil it in the first episode.
It's like the opening scene.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's like the opening scene.
It's a skiff. We couldn't figure out how to get them on the skiff. It took like a week, and after that...
And we're not kidding. It did take us like a week.
And that was because, again, of my issues, and then it just flowed after that.
Yes. So, yeah. Okay, now I'm trying to think about our generalness of 2020. Well, like Garrett said, it was filled with stresses. And, gosh, with 2020, it was just like, if I describe just like in a bulk sense, I'm just going for myself.
Yeah. The rest of 2020. Now we're moving beyond the first episode. We can go with the rest of 2020.
Yeah, just
the following episodes we had written that year.
I'm going to describe the following episodes. For me, it's like, okay, I'm going to just describe, fine, we're just going to keep talking about this. I was getting in a better groove, writing our characters.
You were.
Yeah, writing our characters, getting into our universe. I was just feeling more comfortable. I was like, okay, now we got our stuff going. Now we got our rhythms working. And, by the way, it was still tough because we were both going through stuff. But
we hadn't developed the segments method yet.
No, this is not the segment method yet.
It was still, let's talk about what we want in this episode, and then let's just go into writing it.
Yeah.
It was still that.
Yeah, like, here's our general feeling of the episode, and here's the characters, here's some key points. And we just said it. We never typed it down. Then we jumped in. That was it. Mm-hmm. And we just kept it all in our heads. Yeah. So like for most of the year, like I'd say for like the next several months. But I know that's the part you may have not known. Towards the end of the year, towards the final episodes that year, towards just the final part of the year, like
the last episode we'd be writing that year.
Yeah. During that one, oh my gosh, I didn't. I really kept it from you, but
I'm learning it now. You're learning it.
Yeah, the lore. Or their lack of literally being consistent drove me fucking nuts.
Huh?
And that I didn't know if the lore we had, Garrett, was going to stay that way. And though we knew we were going to change some lore, I didn't know what was going to be changed.
Oh, yeah.
That drove me fucking crazy. I hated that because for me, like Garrett said, we just brought up earlier, I hate going back and correcting lore and shit like that. I hate it. I really hate it. That's why for me, it's like, no, if it's going to be, this is going to be the lore, that the lore is going to be that for some reason golden objects, for some reason talk. I want to keep it that way. That's not what we did with this lore. Some of this shit that was key that we were writing for several episodes, we had to change because it didn't work. And that was secretly driving me nuts. So towards the end of the year, thankfully I didn't yell this at you. Because that would have gotten us nowhere. If I yelled this shit at Garrett, it would have gotten us nowhere.
He's more responsible than me.
I'm more responsible in that factor, but other times I should have spoken up like how you spoken up. I like how you do that. But there's a little fun little trivia that was annoying for me, but interesting for you, that yes. So that's going to lead into when we talk about it in the next video, 2021. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, that was towards the end of the year. Because otherwise, towards mostly the middle of the year, I was
pretty smooth.
I was
pretty smooth.
It was actually pretty smooth.
Yeah.
I'll be perfectly honest. We knew their personalities. We knew what we wanted, and it was just really flowing.
And because the first episode did turn out well, despite all the problems.
And actually, yes, we did say that. Even though we were really shitty moves, we knew that we got something good out of it.
It did set the tone, characters, and a flow that we could follow into the following episodes. So it was able to give us a roadmap in a sense.
Yeah.
That we were able to keep in our heads because again, I stupidly didn't want to write anything down.
And okay, no, for people, just so you can understand about the whole writing down thing, well, I'll tell you right now in this video.
There's a level how much you should write down, but I know what you mean. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying right now, for us and this universe, I'll tell you right now in this video, this web show we have in mind is fucking huge.
Yeah.
So that's why we chose to write things down, because the cast size, the lore is so rich. That's why we thought of the idea. But that, again, we're going into more detail of that in another video, because that segment's one, how we planned it out, that we didn't do that all in 2020. It's non-existent at all.
Mm-hmm. It didn't exist until 2020.
No, it was next year. It was literally next year, 2021.
But that's not this video.
That's not this one. This is about 2019-ish and 2020.
Video, 2020 is like the trial, but we ended up coming out with episodes that were perfect.
It actually really worked out well.
And that's exactly what we wanted.
Exactly, actually.
See, again, when you love what you do, you don't lose your way.
No.
You can just have less problems or more problems, depending on how you conduct yourself in your personal life. And then that does, what happens to your personal life does transfer over into your professional life. So, I didn't get over my issues until like mid of 2020, and that's when I actually opened up why the writing for the first episode and some of the episodes after that were so difficult, unnecessarily difficult. This was kind of what I was going through. I just had to admit to that, and it was in 2020, maybe towards the middle or towards the end. I had to be the middle. Why I promised myself I would not force myself. It was in 2020.
Yeah,
why I was never going to do that again.
And he never has.
And I never did. And I had opportunities, because here's the thing.
No, lots. Garrett had a few opportunities. He could, but no, he didn't.
The truth about life is, when you fuck up and you choose never to do it again, life and everything that has all that's involved with it, the universe, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I call it the energy.
Yeah, energy.
Energetically, to test yourself, you're going to bring that exact situation back to yourself to test yourself if you really have changed. Mm-hmm. One form or another, you will test yourself. And it may happen more than once. But it will happen guaranteed once. And it did happen on more than one occasion while I was writing. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, I told Brandon, we're not writing today.
And I asked, why?
I told him, and I told Brandon the very personal reasons why.
And then I was like, okay, I'll wait.
And that was hard for me.
It was.
Personally, I feel like I used to, not anymore. Yeah. I used to feel like such a failure by not doing something I knew I could do, even while I was suffering, even though it would mean causing more suffering for me and Brandon.
Yeah. But
I knew I could produce a product of quality. And I used to think to myself, just suck it up, Garrett. Just fucking go through it and just make it. But that's not why we got into this. Brandon and I want to make a personal statement that the best works, some argue, can only come from suffering. We want to make a staple mark of saying they don't have to come from that. While our show may have started that way, it has changed and evolved in a way where that suffering is really buried under the peace and quiet Brand I have developing this show now. It is more important to enjoy your life and your work and see it comes out just as well as if you had suffered than it is to just suffer and make it.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I'm going to look back on this. I'm going to be reminded of all the pains I went through. Yeah, the audience is going to love it. They didn't have to go through what I went through, but that's not why I'm making it. No. I'm making it so that when I look back on it, I can have a good memory. Not just a good memory. I can look back on it fondly and enjoy it from a very, very sound and happy place. And that was the direction from the beginning, to go against the heartbreak of giving up on our previous works. We had given up on them because we thought there was no way to produce a truly magnificent work of audiovisual without that kind of ridiculous suffering that this world imposes so regularly and justifies. But they only justify it because, they force themselves to go through it.
Yeah, basically they're fucking normalizing the abuse.
Yeah, you normalize the abuse because you didn't choose to overcome it.
Exactly.
So Brandon and I chose to overcome it. And so there are challenges that come with that, but there's also but you just need conviction. And
love.
And love.
That'll get you through it.
Love gets you the conviction. So the love for writing is our conviction to write this from a state of love and absolute enjoyment from beginning to end. And yes, I can look on the previous ones because that joy and conviction was in there despite the suffering I was going through.
It was, I can tell.
Because the accomplishment was achieved not because we accomplished it still, our mission from the very beginning, because the mission was the writing can't be miserable.
Yeah.
The writing can't be a place of forcing yourself. I wanted to force myself to write to forget, but that was about that. Whenever I sat down and typed, actually Brandon was the typist back then.
Yes, I typed back then.
I was in it. I was in it because I loved the work, but when I got out of it, then my problems came back to me.
Yeah, that was always dreadful.
So I was always able, when we were writing, to push it aside. But because it's pushed aside for an elongated time, when it comes back, it boom!
It's like a rubber band.
Bad idea. So the writing is pure. The experience is amazing, even with the rewrites.
Yeah.
What we had put down is what we wanted with the attitude we wanted to make them with.
Yep.
The attitude of, I am loving this creative process. I am loving that I'm not forcing myself to write, in that it is an unpleasant experience to write this scene. It is a pleasant experience. I am proud of what we have written.
Yeah.
Just when I stepped out of it, I'm like, ah!
Yeah, it was bad. But...
So that's the mission to be held.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of instances where when you're writing it, there's misery in it. And the misery happens while you're writing, or delusions. And that had to be absent completely, 100% from the writing process, and it was absent from the first episode and every episode we had written in 2020. None of them were corrupted by false ideas of what we wanted, telling ourselves that this was good and we kept it anyway as a compromise, or a lack of joy, a lack of satisfaction with what had been put down on the screenplay and the moment of inception and the moment of typing. None of that exists. What was put down is exactly what was wanted in that moment, even if it was going to be changed later. It was appreciated and loved, and most of all, well, actually loved is most of all, but and
all those layers to, I'm gonna straight up say it, all those layers to make sure
it's a pure experience that we wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, pure experience of love and no regrets.
Yes,
no regrets.
No regrets of what had been written. Even if with our 80% script, if we had to go forward with that, we're forced for some reason to develop that screenplay, we would have done it.
Yeah, I have no regrets.
It would have been okay.
Yeah.
And I would have loved it.
I would have, too.
I would have looked back on it and loved it, even knowing why I had done it. The show itself would have been awesome still.
Would have been phenomenal.
So...
But thankfully, we're not there.
No.
Thankfully, we're getting nice smart.
We managed to work on our stuff. We managed to fix it up. And... it all worked out. Mm-hmm. So that's my experience of 2020, learning about that, changing that, and I stuck with that to the end of 2020 up to this present. I never, ever had an issue in my personal life that I ever used, that I never used writing to escape from that. Escape's a bad thing.
Okay, let me see here. Gosh, I don't think there's anything interesting I want to say about 2020 that popped in my head.
I think you covered your experience, but if you got something else, throw it in.
No.
This is 2020. This is going to be a long video.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying.
We're covering a whole year.
I know. That's why I say there's nothing interesting without being too spoilery about it. I would just say, because we're talking a little bit about episode 1, part of the reason, due to our under-planning, oh my gosh. Oh, no, that was under-planning. No, scratch that. No, just the episode. I don't know if it was because of the stress Garrett was going through.
Probably, a little bit.
Well, probably a little bit. But... man, a lot of the scenes that we kept going along, we did it. We correctly powered through, and we got the scenes we wanted. But there were a couple of scenes where Garrett and I were thinking, okay, how are we gonna get this character from here to here? There's a couple of those scenes where just
that's just a common with writing, though.
No, I know, but it was just it particularly just right now. Thinking about for me, 2020, just thinking about that, it was different from all the other episodes. The other episodes, I don't remember coming up with that. I don't remember running to that kind of roadblock. Personally.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, so it was probably, again, because of the stress we were going through for episode 1. But the rest of the episodes, no, they had the usual stuff where it's that, okay, will the character go this way? Will they not go this way?
Writer's block.
Well, writer's block. Oh, God, writer's blocks. Those are always, like, funny things that was going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, personally, did I describe everything I went through in a bulk with 2020?
I'm pretty sure I have.
Well, I know I have, unless I want to go into each episode, and I'm not going to do that, because then you'll know how much we wrote in 2020. So I'm keeping that a secret.
Yeah. No. It was pretty much hell for me, but I learned from it, and I never repeated it. And I had chances to repeat it, and I backed off.
I'd say
and I ended up with many, many great episodes we had written as a result of that just a single year.
Let me see. Since you round that up for you, what's one of the things that I was a big takeaway in 2020?
Yeah, because
just for me, I'd say for me,
we had to get detailed about the episodes,
and we're not doing that. No.
Yeah.
I know. I'd say for me as a whole. Oh, I'm gonna burp. 1 second. Oh, excuse me. My biggest takeaway as a whole for 2020, it was telling me you were telling me and I was telling me that because I was still a little nervous if it was the right thing for us to write, even though all this planning, I kind of was actually. So
No, I felt that.
Yeah,
You didn't have to say anything. I felt it.
yeah. See,
I knew you were. I just ignored it.
Yeah, see, he ignored it, but I was still doubting if it was right to get back into this writing shtick, this writing world, because I was afraid again, our hearts would be crushed.
Yeah, yours more than mine. You know I can handle myself.
Well, then I'll speak for myself. I was afraid my heart was going to get crushed again, and I was just like, and I'm not kidding, by the way. If my heart got crushed again at that level, I actually mean it. I would have died, and I actually really do mean it. So I was really thinking, was it worth it to test this again, to take a chance on this again? But as I progressively wrote throughout 2020, it was saying to me that, no, Brandon, this is good. You want to go for it again, even if it crushes you again, because you'll be okay.
Yep.
You know you will be.
Yep.
And when I fully realized that, it wasn't in 2020, actually. But
Ooh, that came later.
no, it took me a while, actually.
Actually, it did.
No, it did take me a while. And
But anyway, it's not talking
no, it's okay. It's the point where it's candid. But yeah. But 2020 was definitely the start of that for me, where it was definitely leading to the good ending, as it were, where I was going to, because how I am now, right here in the present, I'm in it. I'm okay with writing. I have no problems with it.
He has faith in it.
I have faith in it. I'm 100% dedicated to it. I'm having fun with it. I'm very stressed with it. But I love...
A good kind of stress.
No, yeah, well, yeah, no, struggles. Struggles are good. It's suffering, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in it. I love it now. Back in the old days, back in 2020, not the old days, back in 2020, I loved it, but I was always terrified if I was doing the right thing.
Ooh, that's great.
Yes.
That's great. I felt that.
But definitely when 2020 ended, gosh, because I told you I was so stressed about the lore, right? That was a funny thing. I was so stressed about the lore, but in a sense, I felt more alive. So which means I was leaning, it was myself was telling myself, it's going to be okay, Brandon. When you get to that next point, it's going to be okay. So that was the biggest thing I went through, I'd say, with 2020. Really just saying
trusting
to myself.
Yourself.
Yeah, trusting myself that, Brandon, it's okay to go through this. It's okay to team up with Garrett. It's okay to come with this great idea. It's okay, Brandon. It's going to turn out okay. And it has.
It did.
Okay, I think personally, off the top of my head, for writing-wise and 2020-wise, that's all I want to say without going into details about the episodes and stuff like that. I think I'm good.
Yeah. In closing, as a result of all this, and because we do love writing, we love creating. Actually, more than writing, we love creating. I love directing just as much.
Yes.
So when we get to directing, it's going to be just as fun as writing. We love the creating process. We love creating fiction, creative writing, all that. Anything in the creative process, we love it. The true definition of love. That no matter what, you'll always come back to it.
No matter what, you'll make it work.
You'll make it work. And we love each other. That's been going on for a long time.
This guy right here.
Me and my brother.
This guy right here. He's the best brother in the world.
7 hours old when he was born. Video footage of me trying to give him a stuffed animal. And we're a year and 9 months apart. So I was a baby. And I loved this baby.
You better believe it. Oh, and for the record, just so you know, when that's the nickname for me in the family, the baby. I totally...
He's the baby.
I totally love it. I don't mind at all. In fact, I like it a lot. So
everyone calls him the baby.
Yep. So whenever you see this stuff in the videos, know that it's not one of those relationships where I'm annoyed. I love it. No. I love it when Gary rolls my head. I love when they call me the baby. I actually really love it.
Yeah. He grew up with it.
It makes you feel good.
It's a place of love.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that phrase.
It's just he's the baby. What do you want? My brother. He's
People
the baby.
are crazy if they don't call me that. If you don't call me, that's crazy. If you don't call me that, that's crazy.
Yeah. We're close. We've been close all our lives.
And we wanted to team up to write, to create.
Yeah.
Because we both really love fiction.
Yeah.
We really love entertainment.
We can talk about that in another video. But
so
the cold is out. As a result of us listening to ourselves, going through the struggles because of our love for each other and for what we are doing, it led into a very, very interesting 2021.
Interesting is a way to put it. I would agree.
When we finally discovered our system for writing for a serial, we actually implemented that for the first time ever. Brandon's, of course, idea, and of course, to my chagrin. But
and other things that happened in 2021, of course, we will save.
But 2021 is definitely the result of 2020.
Yeah.
So
we made use.
We kept progressing.
We
progressed.
I will say we made use. I would never encourage putting shit in your life just to make use of it, because then you're fucked up. But the shit that Gary and I had in our lives, we did make use of it, We made it work.
And we got better for it.
And we got better for it.
We got better after the Reds.
I'd say personally, Garrett, I'm good.
Yep. So get ready for 2021. It's the next entry into this series.
Whenever we record it.
That's going to be an interesting one to talk about.
That was going to be good. That was going to be interesting.
2021 is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And it is a change from 2020.
It is.
And that's how you know you've changed.
Mm-hmm.
See you next video.
See you next video.
Maybe we're probably not going to be tipsy then. Who knows?
We don't know. Bye-bye.
Bye.